Hey, 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 it's Tia, baby. And I am back with another video. So I almost wasn't going to do a video today because it took forever for my child to go to sleep. Like, I was getting irritated. I was like, what is happening here? But he finally went to sleep. So as you can hear, it's the snoring in the background. So now I'm going to finish chapter 9 only, and then tomorrow I'll read chapter 10, hopefully. So here it goes. The longer I knew and loved Selena, the clearer it became that she loved me in part because I accepted her completely. No matter what she wanted to try, whether it was something as small as wanting the aquarium headboard or a new dog or a plan as complex as starting a fashion business on top of her music career. I loved Selena for who she was and never put up the kind of resistance she often felt from her family and even from certain friends. Selena was creative and she could be exceedingly impulsive, but no matter what ideas she expressed to me, I was never negative. I had enough negativity in my own family when I first tried to become a rock guitarist, so I knew how bad that could feel. Instead, she and I would talk things through in an attempt to encourage Selena to be less impulsive, do a little planning, and articulate her vision clearly enough so that she could see whether her idea was workable or not. Her dreams were my dreams. If something was important to Selena, it was important to me too. That's how much I loved her. Selena was quick to appreciate this about me too. Thank you, Chris, she said. Whenever I support her position on something, thank you for helping me. Now, Selena brought the newspaper into the kitchen where I watched her comb through the classified ads and circle various houses for rent. You really want to move this time? I asked. We have been down this road together before, usually after similar family arguments. Oh, I really do, Selena said. We need to get out of here. Without much more discussion, we got in the car and started driving around, even pulling into the driveways of houses at the addresses she had circled. Afterwards, Selena made some phone calls, but that was the end of it. I'm sure part of the reason she dropped the idea was that it would be a lot of work to move, and she was usually exhausted just from her recording and performing obligations. But Selena wasn't ready yet to put even that much distance between herself and her family. To me, it didn't really matter where we lived. What mattered to me was Selena's happiness. As long as she wanted to live in that neighborhood and in that house alongside her father and brother, I could be happy there. If Selena ever really wanted to leave, I would be right beside her, helping her every step of the way. Selena was as supportive of me as I was of her, with one important exception. The time I talked about leaving Los Dinos to pursue my dream, starting a rock band, she shut me down cold. We were nearly at the pinnacle of our success by 1993, and I loved making a living playing in a Tejano band as successful as Los Dinos. That was my work, and I took pride in it. I even developed a certain love and respect for Tejano music. Still, I was a musician before I met Selena, and I had my own taste. I continued to listen to rock music and even introduced Selena to a lot of the bands I like. A part of me still longed to play that music. Selena and I always listened to music on the road trips, and she was open-minded. She could appreciate most of my choices, which included everything from Alice in Chains, Pearl Jam, to Green Day. We had a sort of unspoken agreement that she would listen to my music if I listened to hers. At the time, her favorite artists were Bonnie Raitt, Whitney Houston, and Janet Jackson. Selena especially loved Janet Jackson's song Black Cat, which Janet wrote for her Rhythm Nation 1814 album. I can't even count how many times Selena and I listened to that single. After we had married After we had been married for a few months, I confessed to Selena that I still harbored those desires to play a different kind of music. I had become a fan of Latin rock, and I was listening to a lot of that on my headphones with her. I thought maybe I can start a Latin rock band and make my own way in that direction. I love the Hano music, I told Selena. And you know I love playing with Los Dinos, but you have to admit that Tejano music isn't really geared towards guitar players. I'm just playing the same chords over and over again. That's not true, she protested. ABCDFG lets you play a lot of things of the way you want. She was right, but even though I was pushing the boundaries a little bit in the context of Tejano music, I still couldn't see any way to continue developing as a guitar player if I restrict myself to this genre. The music just wasn't challenging enough, and I was feeling stifled. I told her. Uh-huh, Selena said. She was watching me with an odd sort of sideways look while I fumbled through this conversation. I tried again. I want to try something different, I said. I love you and I love being on stage with you. You know that, but I'm bored, Selena, and that's the truth. It's time I try something else, like Latin rock. Selena came around to stand in front of me. She looked me in the eye without saying anything at first. She just pinned me in place with her dark eyes. What? What? I asked, suddenly nervous. That's not going to happen, Selena said. If you quit the band and do something else, Chris, it will be over between us. What are you talking about? I asked in alarm. By now my palms were sweating because of that cold look she was giving me. Why would it be over just because I want to try playing another kind of music? Her voice was still calm, but with an undercurrent of tension that made me afraid to touch her. You will be on the road away from me, she said. I've been on the road all my life, so I know what it's like for you guys. I saw how you were with women and drinking before we were together. If you and I were on the road separately, I would think about that and worry. As soon as Selena said that, I knew that it was the truth. But even though I was a year older, Selena had been on the road far longer than I had. She had been doing this since she was a kid. She knew the reality of the music business. We didn't know life apart from each other as a couple. Since falling in love, we had always been together on buses, in planes, and on stage at this hotel or that arena. Selena knew that no matter how much we vowed to be faithful to one another, that vow would be too easy to break if we weren't playing in a band together. So I'm going to say this. Now, because that conversation happened, and because Chris was so easily convinced what she said, I feel like Chris is weak for women. And because he agreed and, understood that if they weren't together in the band, that he would be unfaithful to her. So that's just something that's instilled in him, because she noticed that he was unfaithful to her. I mean, to women before they got together, because hence he was in a relationship before he was with Selena, and he was already falling for Selena. And so he was getting in trouble with the drinking and everything. So she already knew that if they were apart, especially if he's a rock star and then he's attractive, that the girls will be all over him and he will be enticed by that. And so she's she's putting a tight leash on him because she doesn't want to go through that, which I get. For a woman's standpoint, I get it, because no woman wants the person they love to be out fooling around with other people. However, I do feel like she's a little bit much in that circumstance, because even though it's hard, and even though we as women will worry if the person we're with may cheat on us or whatever, especially if it's dealing with the type of career they're in. You can't just hold your person back out of fear. Because I mean, for example, um, even there has been an instance where a person in my life was messing around with women on his job, and you know he came clean with it. We worked through it. We're working through it, and he started or in a verge of starting a new job. And of course, my fear is, what if this happens again? And, deep down, I may not I may be on the fence with him, taking this new job. However, I can't let my fear hold him back on his success because it can happen at any moment. Just like Chris, just like with Chris, he could cheat on her at any moment. It don't have to be if he went on and did a rock star band. He can cheat on her if he go to the store, or if he just take a trip with his family or whatever, or his friends. It can happen at any moment. But her just trying to stop him from pursuing his career. It's selfish, and it's selfish. I mean, yeah, she has a right to feel worried. Her feelings are valid, but it's not right to stop him from living his life based on her fear. And that's what I mean. And that's what me. I can't stop him from, pursuing his career or his dream based on a fear because of what he did in the past. She shouldn't have done that either. She shouldn't have, blocked his blessing or his potential blessing based on something he was doing before they got together, or when they were getting together, on the verge of getting together, because he can cheat on her at any moment if he really wanted to. So her stopping him from being a musician is not going to stop him from cheating if he really want to do it. But he doesn't want to, obviously. However, that if she would have still been living, he would have resent her for that. If he never pursued his career as a guitarist in a rock star band, because she was afraid that he was going to be not be around and cheat and everything, he will resent her for that, and that relationship would end, because he will forever resent her for blocking his blessing because of something that she was worried about. And then, yeah, so I'm not saying that they wouldn't have made it for 30 something years of marriage. They probably would have. But it will have to be some compromising. She would have to step back a little bit and let him live his life as a musician, and just trust that he will make the right decisions. But we won't know that because, she's not here. But based on what that conversation, that was a little selfish from Selena, and that's just me being open. That's just me being honest. That was a little selfish on her end because of, and I get her feelings are valid, but it was still selfish. Long story short. So I'm gonna go continue on. Selena had also seen me at my worst. She had known me when I got arrested for drunk driving, and she had nearly left me when I trashed that hotel room with the road crew and nearly trashed her family's reputation in the process. My wife had taught me that the meaning of true love is forgiveness. Here was somebody who had seen me make some of the worst mistakes of my life, yet she had accepted my apologies and believed in me. I owe Selena the same kind of trust and loyalty that she has shown me. Yeah, I said, I guess you're right. Selena smiled, her brown eyes alight with warmth again. So you'll stay with the Lostinos? I'll keep backing you up, I said. I meant what I said to apply to our lives, both off stage and on, and Selena knew it. I never resent Selena for making me stay. Far from it. Back then, he probably and he probably was right. Back then, he probably didn't resent her. But if she was still living and he never sought out his dream as a guitarist, I think he would have. Those feelings would sneak up on him. That's just my opinion. But y'all can comment in the comment section and base your opinion on that as well. What possible gripe could I have? I was making a living playing my guitar. I was in a Tejano band, true, but it was a badass Tejano band, fronted by the love of my life. Most important of all, this girl had my back, and I was going to have hers until we were old and left this earth. Little did I know that my time with her would be so short. I had been wanting a motorcycle for a while. My father was a motorcycle rider until he got into a massive accident. My cousins and uncles on my father's side always had bikes around too. Finally, I told Selena that I was going to buy one for myself. Most women I know have problems accepting the idea that the thrill of riding a motorcycle is worth the risk, but not Selena. Right up there with loving her dog, her family, her dog, our dog's fashion, and me, she was crazy about any kind of vehicle. She excitedly accompanied me to the dealer in San Antonio when I bought the bike I've been longing for, a Kawasaki, I think it's Kawasaki Ninja. On the drive back home to Corpus Christi, Selena drew up beside me on the highway in her BMW M3. Race you, she called, goading me into it with one of those wild looks in her eyes. You bet, I said. Within seconds, we were flying side by side down the highway. The bike wouldn't break 100 miles per hour no matter how flat I lay on that gas tank to decrease the wind resistance or how hard I pushed it. Selena easily pulled in front of me, laughing her foolish head off as she passed. Then gunned the BMW even faster just to prove her point. She won another dare. Selena and I spent as much of our time together as possible, even when we weren't on the road. Despite having been married a year and having known each other for 3, we were still fully aware every day of how lucky we were to be married now, because we could do things together. Like just go to the grocery store. Life couldn't get any better than that. Selena especially loved going for rides on that motorcycle with me, especially at night when it wasn't so hot. We cruised along the shoreline in Corpus Christi, admiring all of the fancy houses on the waterfront. Sometimes we would pull over and park, then off the bike to sit on the seawall or walk along the jetties, just as we had when we were seeing each other secretly. Not long after I got the Ninja, Selena and I had taken just such a cooling night ride, her body pressed against mine as we leaned around the turns. The breeze in our faces, we were resting on the seawall, admiring the reflection of the lights on the water, when she suddenly declared, I want to learn how to drive the bike. How about no? I said, no way. Why not? Selena started to argue with me because it was it was because she grew up as the youngest in her family, or maybe it was just because she was the most like dictator. For whatever reason, Selena was one of the most stubborn people I've ever known. She never liked anyone telling her no, not ABCDFG, Suzette, or her parents, much less her own husband, whom she knew she had wrapped around her little finger. Oh, come on, Chris. I can drive a motorcycle if you can do it. If you can do it, she said. You think it's easy to drive this motorcycle? I asked in disbelief. It's not like riding a bicycle, you know. You just think the Ninja is lightweight because it's always upright when you get on it. But I can promise you this. If you drove this motorcycle and let it lean past a certain point, it will fall over and you wouldn't be able to pick it back up. It will probably fall on your leg and break it. Now, Selena was giving me that puppy dog look with her big brown eyes and frowning. But I want to learn how to ride the bike, she insisted. I sighed. I knew Selena well enough by now to understand that once she got an idea in her head about something she wanted to do, there was no stopping her. Selena was like our miniature Doberman, Andre, with a toy. She would shake that idea of hers until she succeeded in tearing it into pieces. And God help anybody who tried to take it away. Okay, I said at last. We'll go to the grocery store parking lot to see if you can balance on the bike. But that's all we're going to do today, okay? Okay, she promised. Selena was fairly mechanical and a very hands-on person. She always loved to drive, so it wasn't really any surprise to me that within minutes of me explaining them, she understood how the clutch, the brake, and the gears work on the motorcycle. This plus the fact that we were now in a huge empty parking lot put me a little more at ease. Okay, I'm getting behind you, I said. I'll hold the bike up. She straddled the bike in front of me. This is so cool, she said. Cool unless you wreck my bike, I thought. Yeah, it is cool as long as you're careful, I reminded her. Just think what your dad will do to me if I let you get hurt. All right, I'm getting off now. See if you can keep the bike balanced. Selena wobbled a little bit from side to side. Whoa, you're right. It is heavy. Remember that, I warned you. You're really going to get hurt if you start to fall over, and don't put your foot down in time to catch yourself. I showed her how to work the clutch and throttle, telling her to imagine her hand on the bar was like her foot working the accelerator. We talked things through as she engaged the clutch and explored the brakes. Meanwhile, I was thinking, bad idea to do this, Chris. But there was no backing out now. Selena's dark eyes were bright with excitement. Beneath the big helmet, just then, the bike had a little hiccup and she jumped. What's that? She asked, looking down at the motorcycle between her knees. It's cool, I said. You're in first gear now. Can I ride it? For real? I had to smile. Sure, go for it. Click it up into second gear, but don't go past that. And remember where your brakes are. I yelled as Selena started to drive away from me. That's the most important thing. Selena took off slowly without wobbling. I was proud of her. The bike didn't jump forward or stall. It was nice and smooth start. In seconds, of course, she was all the way across the parking lot and I couldn't see anything but the lights on the bike. Okay, I yelled. That's far enough. You can come back now. Selena rolled back towards me, the big motorcycle purring between her knees. How do I do the other gears? She asked. I taught her that too, and then Selena took off around the parking lot again. She drove for about 5 minutes, getting more and more comfortable. Soon she started doing figure eights while I held my breath watching her. As always, Selena had surprised me by how quickly she could learn something new. She rolled back and eventually said, I think I got it. You do, I agreed. You're doing everything right. Now let's try adding in the blinkers and practice that. I hadn't wanted to teach her too many things at once, but Selena had no trouble turning the turn signals as she poured the parking lot again. Pretty soon she was beside me again. Get on, she suggested. Ha ha, that's really funny, I said, rolling my eyes at her. How about you get off? Come on, please, Selena said. Can I drive home? You're scaring me, I said. No, I can't let you do that. We have to get on the highway to drive home. Selena, of course, got that bullheaded expression and started arguing. What if I just stay on the access road? That's even scarier, I said. There are no kinds of intersections and stop signs. I'll go real slow, she promised. Please. Eventually, she wore me down. What's the harm? I decided if I were on the back of the bike, I could take control of the machine if she made a mistake. All right, let's do it, I said. Her grin was as wide and white beneath that helmet as I got on the back of the bike behind her. Selena eased the bike carefully out of the parking lot and onto the access road. As we got to the light near the access ramp for the highway, she wobbled a bit, but I held a steady that made me realize that she would probably do better on the highway. We'd be safe if she didn't have to stop or turn. Plus, there would be little traffic at night. Go ahead, I yelled over the machine. Get on the highway. For real? I could hear the smile in her voice. Yeah, get on the highway and see what's up. On to the highway we went. Selena started out at a gentle cruising speed, maybe 60 miles per hour, but before too long she hit 65, then 70 miles. That's it? That's fast enough, I yelled, tapping her side. I could hear her laughing through her helmet, but she slowed down a little. Our ride was about without incident. I started to relax. Selena was a good driver in a car, and despite her love of speed, she seemed fairly steady on a motorcycle. The one thing that hadn't occurred to me until it was time to exit off the highway ramp was that Selena really hadn't had anything enough experience on the motorcycle to know how it would react. She had never made a turn off one street and onto another. I was in a near panic. I lifted my visor and hurriedly started yelling things at her, telling Selena how to lean when she wanted to change lanes or turn a corner, demonstrating by pressing my body against hers. When it was time to actually hit the exit ramp, Selena was still going too fast. Slow down, I yelled. Thankfully, the light was green as we came off the highway. Selena made the right turn successfully, cruising right through it. Then we had to make a quick left. Unfortunately, Selena decided to lean the bike before I did, so that the bike started turning before we reached the intersection. I had to think fast. If I tried to fight her and the bike by leaning the other way, I risked having her straighten up, and that momentum could tip us over. If I sit up straight, she might lean even more and flip us over as well. It was going to be bad if I fought her in any way. Finally, I decided to lean with her just a little. We popped a curb and went over by somebody's front yard, then came down hard off that curb and coasted onto the street. I felt Selena stiffen a little against me as she panicked. Oh no, she yelled. It's fine, don't panic. Just keep driving, I said, even though inside I was yelling the same thing she was. The last thing I wanted to do was crash on our own street and have Dictator find out. I told Selena to stop at the corner before we were close enough for her father to see us. Why? She yelled. What if your dad is outside for whatever reason, or he hears the motorcycle come up and decides to look out the window? The last thing Dictator needs is to see you driving a motorcycle. Selena stopped the bike and climbed off in a hurry. I guess the thought of Dictator was stronger than any other argument I could ever given her. Still, Selena was stubborn enough to think that she knew all about motorcycles after that one lesson. One night I came home and saw that my bike was parked crooked in the garage. I stomped in the house. Selena, what the hell did you do with my bike? I just took it for a ride through the neighborhood, she said breezily. It was cool. I really got into it with her that time. It was not cool. You don't know what could have happened. I started telling her about my father's incident, then and about all of my other friends and relatives who been left dead or crippled because of some stupid mistake they made on their motorcycles. I had to scare her into being sensible. Anytime you attempt to do that again, remember that my dad got dragged for 3 miles with his motorcycle under a truck. I said. Selena just stared at me, open mouth. That happened to your dad? Shoot, she said. Okay, I won't take your motorcycle out by myself again. I almost believed her. Still, I checked on the bike every time I came home after that. I knew how Selena rolled, taking every risk that came her way with encouragement, love, joy, and music and love in life. So I'm gonna stop here because it's actually still at 35 pages left of this chapter, and it's getting late and it's already at 30 minutes. So I'm gonna stop here and I'll continue with chapter 9 part 3 tomorrow. Peace.